I'm gonna show you how I nailed the settings on my Plasma TV with everything that I know now. And this can help you even if you have a different Plasma TV or a different TV and you are using a console or a PC, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you how I use some test patterns on YouTube and my eyes just to make sure that the TV is able to show me the range that it's supposed to show me. So I can see everything on the darkness and I can see everything on the bright areas like the clouds, the sun. When you see bright objects, you are still able to see all the separation that you are supposed to see. So I am always careful in telling you, oh, these are accurate settings because I am not a professional TV calibrator. I do not have instruments, but I care a lot about getting the best picture that I can because I enjoy playing the games. So what I'm gonna share with you is the best of my knowledge and abilities, and if you know better, let me know. I am interested in learning. So what I'm gonna do here is let me show you some basic understanding about the settings that I have available on this Plasma TV on SDR, and the results are just fantastic. I mean, this is the best results I've ever achieved on this Plasma TV. So basic settings on SDR, and this is for every single TV. We have usually contrast, okay? And that setting is called contrast in every TV that I've ever seen. And it is clear what contrast does. Increasing the contrast, if you open a test pattern that has whites, if you increase the contrast, this is going to start clipping the whites if you pass certain point. So let me show you here. For example, if I open this test pattern, let me get this out of the way. If I open this test pattern, maybe on the video it's not that visible. This is the reference white, and this is flashing from 230 to 235 is flashing. So if I increase the contrast to 100%, this is going to disappear. So I cannot see anything. So I need to lower this contrast until I can still see the separation. So I want this contrast to be as high as possible, but still allowing me to see this separation of whites. And of course, the contrast is also going to clip the colors. So if you really want to get into it in depth, you can open some color clipping test patterns and also make sure that the colors are the best you can get them. But don't focus too much on the colors because that is going to depend on the TV you have. Some TVs are able to show you better separation of colors, and some TVs are not gonna be able to do that. So I just focus on the whites and the colors. If they are clipping, I mean, that's okay. On the Plasma TV, we are more concerned about getting the maximum brightness possible because the Plasma TVs are not very bright. So if the whites are not clipping, that's okay. Don't focus too much. So for example, I would need maybe to lower that contrast too much to prevent all the colors from not clipping, and I'm going to lose overall brightness. So that's okay. If I can look at a test pattern like this and I see 235 is the reference white, that's perfect. So what I have to do to achieve this is I have to use on the NVIDIA control panel on my GPU, I have to use limited range. Okay? So the settings on the NVIDIA control panel, it has to be limited here. Why? The reason is, let me show you the other settings we have. So I already explained you contrast. You want to increase that as much as possible, but make sure that you don't increase it too much and clip the whites that you're not supposed to be clipping. Then this brightness option, this is just the luminance of the panel. You want to max that out. It shouldn't be called brightness because brightness usually refers to the black level. Here on the Plasma TV, this brightness option is just the luminance. How much luminance is the panel pushing, okay? And you want to max that out. And this color is just the color saturation. So, and the color temperature and normal, although I like warm, but it's not accurate. Normal is closer to this 65, I'm sure. And then, let me show you this setting, because this is what it has to do with limited range or full range. Black level. Okay, so this black level in dark in this Plasma TV is like setting limited range on the TV. So if I have full range on the GPU, I have to change this to light. And if I have limited range on the GPU, I have to change this to dark. Why I select, and this, why is this the best option? Dark on the TV and limited on the NVIDIA control panel. Because this is the only way I can increase the contrast to get that the maximum brightness, the maximum overall brightness possible, and not start clipping the whites. Because if I select full range on the GPU and light here on the black level, I have the same near black performance, very similar, but then I cannot increase the contrast. What happens is that if I go past 50 here on the contrast, I start clipping the whites. So that's not good because I want the maximum brightness possible. So for the maximum brightness possible on this Plasma TV to be able to show me the range, the limited range, I need to have limited on the TV, limited on the GPU, limited on the TV, and increase that contrast. That's it. That's basically it. And the reason why I lowered this color to 42 is because the Plasma TV by default is going beyond Rec 709. So by default this Plasma TV is here, color saturation 50, and that's too much. I loved it. Actually, this was one of my biggest frustrations with the OLED, because after getting used to this color saturation, when I go and use the OLED was looking desaturated. And I didn't know, and I was making videos comparing it and saying, man, this OLED just looks dead. The colors look dead. And then when I discovered on the OLED how to change it to color gamut native, which is DCI-P3, then I get this same saturation or similar saturation. And then I was liking that. But I learned later that the OLED looks desaturated because it's accurate. When you are playing on SDR, the OLED it clamps the color gamut. It clamps the color gamut to Rec 709. Okay? So to get that same saturation, I use my eyes, which is impossible to get a perfect result. But the OLED is not perfect anyway. It is not professionally calibrated. So what I did is I used my eyes, and to match the OLED and the Plasma on SDR, this is the value. 41 to 42 is between these two. And I would go 42 just, if I'm going to error, I want to error on the saturated side more than on the under. So this is the value. So that's all you need to know, or maybe this is all you need to try to get the best results. So on your TV, try full on the GPU, full on the TV, and see if you can increase this contrast as much as possible without clipping the whites. I'm gonna post on the description of the video some links to some test patterns that you can try, but you can use other test patterns, it doesn't matter. From 0 to 255, you want to use more than one test pattern, so you make sure that everything is perfect, the near black and the close to white. And you want to try full on the GPU, full on the TV, and then increase the contrast as much as possible, okay, without clipping the whites, because we want a bright picture for gaming. So then if you see that with full and full, you cannot actually increase this contrast too much because you start clipping the whites, which is what happens here on this plasma TV. Then try limited on the GPU and limited on the TV, and that's how I get the best results here on this plasma TV. I can increase the contrast to 91. If I pass 91, I start clipping white, so I don't want to pass that. And the full screen brightness that I'm getting with this plasma TV is 100 nits plus. It is a little bit more. My cell phone app is reading up to 120 nits full screen, but based on what I know, that is unlikely. That's very unlikely. So this plasma TV is probably doing about 100 nit full screen white, which is fantastic. It's very, very good for a plasma TV because the plasma technology struggles to hit 100 nits full screen. So this is how I got the best results. Limited on GPU, limited on TV, increase the contrast as much as possible, lower the color saturation because the plasma TV is going beyond Rec 709. If you have a reference you can use to compare, maybe your cell phone, maybe if you have an iPhone that is accurate. I think the iPhones are very, very, very good. Those screens are amazing. Maybe use a reference to compare, and yeah, that's how I did it. And also this CATS that I was using, it's not accurate. It just does whatever it wants. So yeah, I'm not using it anymore. After learning how to calibrate this, I am not using this. Right now it's clipping more the whites, and I don't want that. I thought it was doing the opposite, but it's actually clipping the whites. I don't need that. All this kind of automatic enhancements, I would strongly suggest you to turn them off. Because to do any kind of calibration or accuracy, you need to make sure that there's nothing dynamic going on the TV. And also, interesting, this near black test pattern that I use for my HDR trick, for the SDR HDR trick. Now this is too bright, so you cannot see. But I can count 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, let me turn off the lights so you see that. Because this is what I use. Let me see if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it clearly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you can see it clearly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the rest is crushed. This is exactly the same level of luminance that I get with the SDR HDR trick that I share with you. So this is absolutely perfect. Like, I mean, it looks so bright. The colors, they just look right. I can see everything on the darkness. This is just perfect. Just perfect. I would go as far as to say that these settings are accurate. And I am careful to say that because I'm not an expert. But this looks, I mean, absolutely amazing. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. And of course you can try. I have to explore the SDR settings on the OLED more because I never, ever use SDR on the OLED. There is absolutely no reason, in my opinion, but there are some people who disagree that might be interested in improving the SDR settings on the OLED. So I'm going to explore more the SDR on the OLED and let you know. You can see everything here on the darkness, and this is very dark, where I can see everything that I'm supposed to see here. Is absolutely perfect. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.